Hi everyone. Today I'm really excited to be with Aja, who started freelancing between classes and waitress shifts back in 2018 before starting her own agency, and now she is Forbes 30 under 30 for Columbus, Ohio. Welcome, Aja. Thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Yusuf. I'm so excited for us to have this chat.
Brilliant. Can you take me back into how it all started?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to have a business. My mom and dad both were kind of entrepreneurs along the way, and I just didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. It had a kind of just bumpy path in my decision making, a lot of things I knew I didn't want to do. But I got wrapped into a lot of business owners who had websites, specifically WordPress websites, and they just didn't know what to do with them. A lot of the time, they didn't know how to log into their website, how to make changes. So when I decided to go back for my passion for writing and journalism. I was waiting tables at night, and then I found a couple side freelance gigs to do website updates. So that's really when I started to think about like, maybe this could be the business that I've wanted to do, or maybe this could be my way to help other business owners grow their businesses.
That's amazing. I realize a lot of SEO agencies start wide, but rather than that, you started very narrow with like salons and spas and things like that. Is there a specific reason why you decided to niche down early on?
I've always loved that business, and I personally have a lot of hair and have spent a lot of the time in a salon chair. And I felt like I had a kind of different, unique perspective that might be able to help people in the beauty industry with some of the areas that maybe they needed some assistance on or needed someone who had more of that strong suit. So I jump around in the beauty industry. I've kind of gotten a chance to see the opportunity from hair salons and spas to individual stylists or estheticians, or even up to the brands that they work with and sell. So I think that in some ways I get people are like, it's so small, but I'm like, even in that small industry, there's so many different opportunities and so much to learn within it too.
Yeah, and as people normally say, riches in the niches, isn't it? The more niche you are, the closer you are to your customers, the more you understand the problem, the more you get,
Yep.
exposure by referrers and things like that. Let's get into the hot topic, and the whole reason why I started all of this is a lot of people could say AI can now obviously build your website in maybe one or two prompts in a single shot, and also write some SEO copy as well. Is that a threat to what the agency does today? How do you see AI kind of shaping the industry overall? And then let's dive deep into, your business and how your clients are also approaching that.
I think in the beginning, when AI was starting, it felt a little bit like a threat to me. And then when I got the chance to work with it myself, I saw one, the opportunity to learn from it and where it could really like optimize our business and help areas that we just don't have time for or we could do better with. But now after, a couple years of this being out and it growing and it is getting stronger, it is getting to be a better tool. I see it more so as, while it can help us think about along the way with business, sure, it might build you a perfect website in the beginning, but how are you going to maintain that website? How can you update that website? How, changes happen. Change to me is the only constant in business. So, is it going to be able to work with your business and make those changes, or is it going to cause more problems in your business and lead to, did it build something that you have to find a specific person who has the intelligence to work with it and has the abilities to do so? So I see it both ways. I think that I had heard a quote somewhere along the way that like, it's not going to be AI that replaces, your job as a marketer. It's going to be a marketer who's working with AI who's going to replace you. So I think it's really I view it as another language, that we need to speak and another tool and resource that has so much power, but also needs to be, reined in and needs to be trained and systemized for what you're looking to do. In our own business, we use AI every single day. I think my view with AI is doing it in a way that is, restrained and has purpose and has value to both, me and the client, and isn't something that's just going to, cause more problems is kind of how I see it. I think a lot of business owners are told like, AI is going to make your life so much easier. It's going to do these things, but we don't get to see the magnification, the up close and the detail of like, how is that? What is it actually going to do? How is it working for me?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think, reflecting on that as well, I work now a lot more than I used to before this. And
Right?
it's coming in, it's supposed to help me. I'm like, no, I'm actually
Could it please
prompting
help me do
more, I'm
this?
building more. And even when you get a really good result, so like you're experimenting and doing things like that. What about your customers? What about, because something I've also find is that there's two kind of people on this. There are people who are super excited and like this is gonna change everything. And there are
Hmm.
people who are like very skeptical. I don't want to do anything with AI.
Hmm.
Where would you say your customers are in that spectrum?
I would say for the most part, they're pro AI. I think a lot
Okay.
of business owners, they like the opportunity and the potential and what it can do. I think I've also seen specific owners feel two ways about it too, because it's like, yes, we love this AI feature. We love these overviews. Oh, but we hate AI booking because it's, disrupting our appointments and our booking. So I think that there's multiple feelings about it. I think social media is kind of the place where people let a lot of grief out about it. And that kind of tends to tell me of like the certain areas like, I think with those graphics that people are posting right now that like they all look the same and they're just like clearly AI created. It's like people are seeing through that now. In the beginning it was cool,
Mm,
but now they're everywhere and it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Or can we go back to creating or making our own stuff too? There's the artist side of it that I think is super important. In the beauty industry, I work with artists all the time and I think that they can be frustrated of like someone showing a hair color image and it's like, well, that's not I can't make that color, like that's not real. That's generated by AI. I could never make your hair that color. So I think it's a lot of mixed feelings, but I would say overall pro AI.
no, that's a good take. Do you think with that comes a lot of risk? Let's say that, one of your clients says, let's make everything AI. Let's, go above and beyond. I want
Mhm.
all my pages, all my SEO to be AI driven.
Yeah,
How would you kind of take that into it? Because it's something I've also noticed is like there is some education around
big
where
time.
to put it and where not. Yeah.
Yeah. That is kind of what scares me and terrifies me about it is like one, how quickly things change, but also like the security and the safety and what information AI can become aware of and what it can do with
Mm,
it. That is to me where it's like we need to proceed with caution, of let's think about what we're really doing here and what systems we have in place. A lot of things of like we spend a lot of time working with our like CRM or our client bases. We have to be considerate about our clients and how they feel about AI because we can't just provide their information or make that accessible without permissions, And I think that thinking about in terms of website, that policies page and the terms and conditions, those are probably more important than ever because we also need to think about, the laws in place and people's, just their own rights to their information.
yeah. That's very true. Where would you say is a place that your clients and even for yourself next after that is where do you see people currently giving us what we do? Yes, that was very manual before AI. We're happy that
Mhm.
we're doing it now. And where you say that in some areas, as maybe you mentioned the example of the hair color and stuff like that, that they're trying to stay away or keep AI away from that space.
Mhm. I think that AI is fantastic. I think both myself and my clients like this for processing a lot of information. It doesn't always do this in the way, but you can, hey, give me a quick summary of this or like reporting of the things that maybe we can't fully connect and piece together, or there's so much information that needs to be processed. I think that's the
Yeah.
area that people really love and like getting things moving too, of like, I think I see a lot of in larger businesses or corporations, like someone has an idea or they want to do something, but they just can't get it organized or get it in the right way. But I see a lot of the times, like I work with clients and like, give me a 1-page summary and outline of this so I can show head boss and boss can approve it and we can get it going. So I think that in terms of the speed of thing, responding to emails that you don't want to respond to and having AI handle part of it. I think that that's the area that it's like, yeah, this can really help me and save time on the things that I don't always want to do or don't have the time to do. But I think the creative place is where it's touchy. My industry is so creative and I try to also, if it's upsetting to see someone who's bringing you an AI generated result, then think about the other ways too of like, my job's not fast because I work with AI. I still have to do the research and make the understanding of that too. So I think that the creative space is really touchy. For me, what's really touchy is thinking about like access to information and like, credit card numbers, API access, when it comes to anything with people's information and having that out there or giving a system the ability to make changes without permission. That is
Yeah.
the part that really, really scares me in what I do.
That's a really interesting take because it's I had an episode with Rick Nobles, who's also an SEO in Kansas City, and we were talking about the same question, which is basically where would you do it? And he was like, the last place I would do is emails because when I'm talking and contacting my customers and speaking with my clients, I don't want them to feel that this is an AI generated one. And that's something I
Mhm,
kind of do as well. It's like emails is probably, if it's an email for a sponsor or something like that, maybe good.
mhm,
But with a client, I don't want them to feel that this is AI written this.
mhm,
Whereas with the creative stuff, if I'm putting like a photo or I'm doing a thumbnail for YouTube on this, I'm probably going to
mhm,
use ChatGPT 2.0 image
mhm.
generator. It's a really interesting take to see like some people how people
How
take it.
my thoughts are always so jumbled, and it's like I need to make a list, and I jump around of like AI is going to make me sound like so much. It's going to organize it in a way that someone else can understand. Where maybe the way that I think and communicate isn't always the most direct. Versus like with thinking about with the creative or the blog posts, like I gotta work with when I'm doing a local business, I want to work with their pictures that they have and images of their people and their results. That's really important for us.
Interesting. Do you see the same pattern with your clients as well in terms of introducing AI to some of their backend workflow or
I think like a lot of these like booking softwares or CRMs are really leaning on like, well, you want our AI bot or you want our AI, booking system or you want, and it's like, it's kind of overwhelmed in a way because like
yeah.
for them, they're the business owner and they're like, yes, I want that. Yes, of course I want this. And they just like go ahead and turn it on. It's like, wow, I didn't realize there was going to be a bot that's communicating with all of my clients. Like, and I can't control what it's saying. And it's, a client, if they're talking about their hair, their haircut, they want someone to look at their hair and give them a consultation versus like a a bot can't do that, like I can't look at it and tell you what it's gonna how it's gonna grow out or how it needs to be maintained. Those things are
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was reading a report the other day from MIT and they said a lot of businesses tend to introduce AI in like customer support, sales, marketing. And if they've done that, like Klarna was a big example of it. They've reduced the number of people in customer support and use AI bot only only to come back and rehire people again in like 6 months time because they realize just they're losing customers for that. So the mantra is that the report says if they invested that money in the back end office, it's like contracts,
Mhm.
documents, as you said, summarizing of information, the return on investment in saving time is a lot bigger than front office, customer support, and sales and things like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Big time. Anything AI works better when you start it with something human versus like, hey, make me a banner versus make me a banner that includes this, this, this. I want these. But the more information and the more you can guide it, it's always going to produce something better, which I kind of see it as like an employee in a way, of like someone that
yeah,
you need to train and you need to educate and you need to get the background. Someone's first day isn't going to look the same as, 6 months later.
yeah. I think that's super true because setting expectations as well. People think that you're gonna go to I put a couple of prompts in and you're gonna have a full business operational. That's unfortunately not how it works so far.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have to those prompts will have to get a lot stronger. I see a lot of marketing now and information about like, either freebie or selling prompts as to what to guide or what to tell AI. And I think that kind of it opens up a new way of communication and understanding of like how I word things or how I would instruct. I think it's made me honestly better at delegating things because I wouldn't know how to explain something versus like now I think I'm pretty strong in terms of like how would I guide it or what do I really need at the end of this. Sometimes it doesn't always look great when you do it and you're like that was not what I intended at all, but I think that makes you a little bit better at like articulating what you want and what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think communication skills are super important, even with human, and now it's getting important with AI as well.
Mhm.
Um, a question that I had is around AGO. I was having a conversation last week again with Stephanie, who is also SEO in, I think, in Chicago area. And it's just like a lot of my clients are now raising concerns about, okay, I need to get into the AGL race.
Mhm.
People are now asking ChatGPT about stuff they used to ask Google. I was just wondering, is that something you guys start getting from your clients? Do you see that's a change in SEO into that direction?
Yeah, big time. I feel like those questions, it's like been all summer, we've been getting questions about that. And I think something that's important, I heard another marketer, her name is Liz Teresa, and she had said, like, AEO, like all of these other terms, they're just SEO wearing another jacket. Like it's
Mm,
SEO is the same foundation. It's based on the same of understanding what people are looking for, how they're searching for it. And, I think a lot of it just goes back to your content, what information in a lot of the beauty industry. I think that that's a space where there's not a lot of content. There's not a lot of bloggers in terms of like local salons or hairstylists who have that perspective. So I see so much opportunity and all of like, it just comes back to creating content and what pathways you're putting that content. You might have, we're super focused on Instagram and Facebook, but we haven't shared that same reel on YouTube and met a whole new audience there, or turned that reel into a blog on our website and had more content there. So I think it goes back to content is key. It's so important, but also how we're communicating that content back to these platforms. You could
mm.
have an awesome blog, but if it doesn't communicate back to ChatGPT, it's never going to recommend it. So I think there's some major parts there. I think that, it is the same foundation. If your SEO isn't great, how you're ranking in AI and search isn't going to be great either.
What would be the roadmap for that then? Let's say I'm a salon in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm interested about this AGO. What should I do to rank in ChatGPT today?
I would get started with homepage first. That's typically where I see is so much opportunity of like what information's on the homepage, how are we talking about what we do? Sometimes we fall into like what we, in our terms versus like what clients are looking for. I would start by running a search term report. I always like to do this for clients in some of these areas like Cincinnati or in Columbus. Like they're kind of like a mid city. I think that those have a good representation over how people are searching, but it could be completely different versus how people are searching in New York or California or Texas. So I like to I'm a Google Ads gal. I like to use the keyword planner, and I like to do it. I do it locally. So I'll do like Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'll kind of break it down just so I can get a sense of like, are people really looking for salons? Are they looking for hairstylists? That might give us a good sense. Or in hair color, same thing. Lived in color has been huge, dimensional color. So it can guide you a little bit and give you a sense. Same thing, AI could really help summarize what this keyword information is and say, hey, this would be my direction for that. Written copy on that homepage is going to be super important. One that really is not used a lot in these types of websites, especially when you have a web developer, is titling all of your images and using alt text with those keywords. So that's all of this information is just going to go back and it's going to tell, for indexing and for ranking, hey, this is what this salon is about. This is, they are really skilled in hair color, or they also offer hair extensions just to really gain. And sometimes people are like, there's just I don't want a lot of words or I want to keep it simple, but these things are very important for communicating back. It doesn't have to all be on the homepage. I think blogs are very key, and those can focus in on some of those hot topics. Like, last year was Sabrina Carpenter bangs were huge. And if we were blogging about those and had that information out there, that's going to really help you rank super fast and show your authority of like, we are so skilled as a hair salon that we know what's trending right now. We know, these are the type of products that we use, all of that type of information that builds you as the authority versus the salon that's around the corner who hasn't updated their website in, 2 years. They haven't added any information. So I think it's about sticking out. I think a lot of it painfully goes back to content, but AI can be super helpful with that too, of like, give it something to start with, get an idea, use those keywords and what people are searching for. Even like social media, I think is an awesome inspiration for what to put on your site in terms of, my social media is doing great, or I'm posting videos, or it's very personal and it's me, but my website isn't that at all. So I think that can kind of highlight of like some of those areas where the website can be more personalized. I think that some of the other things they're very personalized to our client based on what platform that they're with. Things like, if you're a WordPress site versus a Squarespace or a Wix site, that roadmap is going to look a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I think making sure also you have systems in terms of like Google Analytics, you have Google Search Console, you have Bing Webmaster, all of those things set up. You have a sitemap that you're submitting it to and having these types of information. Where it gets a little bit more technical with those things, SEO and it's going to take time. It's not going to be something that you're going to post the blog and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I posted it, I'm going to get business. People are going to be calling about, gray blending or like some of these things tomorrow. But I think in the long term that investment can continue to work for you versus when you get that ad that might be short term helpful, it's not going to work for you when you turn that ad off.
Yeah, I think really, really good point you mentioned is about having systems in place, and AI can help us a lot. I like the word augment before you automate on this. That's
Mhm.
something also I think one of my guests mentioned before. So everyone is just, let's build an agent that does all of that and I don't have to worry about it. I don't think we are in that area just yet.
No.
So building systems would definitely be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And knowing, what systems you've built too, because sometimes like, time passes so quickly or you have things going and it's like, wow, we already did this, or this has been sending every like once a month, this same email, and this is not true anymore. So I think, even after we implement something, we have to have a sort of like maintenance and strategy in place for going back and how is this going? Is this working for us? Do we need to change this in any way? I think that's really important because sometimes we think when we get things done, it's like, oh, okay, I'm done with it. It's out there. It's working for me versus like, hey, this is actually working against me and having this out here.
Yeah, completely agree. Any kind of final closing remarks from you, Asia, around, the future of SEO, and also a question around, if you had a magic wand or had an ability to fix something in your business or in your client's business today, what would that be? Whether you're going to use AI or not.
I would say, always consider your clients at the end of the day. I think that the people who care are the ones who are going to go the farthest in business. It doesn't matter if you're using AI or not. Just those like small touches of like showing someone that you care, that you're thinking about them. Those are the things that show that you are, a genuine person in business are going to be the strongest things in terms of AI. And the more that you can use it to personalize and help you, I think are super important. I would say if I could get a magic wand and shift something, I believe that the strongest businesses are the most connected. I think that based on the systems that we have now, it's very challenging to make everything connected and it can feel very overwhelming of like, why isn't this working? Or, AI told me that this is going to be really easy, but it opened up all of these new problems and that. So if I could wave a magic wand and make everything, have the ability to easily integrate, I think that would solve so many problems that we have and drastically change businesses. But I don't think that will ever be the case.
Yeah, well said. I always think about solving problem like a video game. I used to play a lot of video game when I was a teenager, and it's just like you're unlocking a better problem. You're gonna solve problem ultimately, but
Yep.
it's just what kind of problem you want to solve.
Yep. And
Right?
what side quests you go on like along the way.
Yeah,
You're like, I thought this was going to be the whole ultimate part, but I also ended up learning all of these other things along the way too, which is something, it's painful. It's the late nights, all of the things that go into it. But I think when you look back and you're at that, you're at the peak and you're looking back at everything that took you there, that it can only help you in the future as you continue to go on as a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Aja, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you
Really
so much.
enjoyed talking to
It
you
was
today.
wonderful. Great chatting with you.
Thank you.